All right, brother. Let's talk about this. Because I've been free from a severe porn addiction for almost 6 years now. And I've been with my girl in a loving and fulfilling relationship for almost 7 years now. So the painful truth is, at the start of our relationship, I was still heavily addicted to porn, often doing it multiple times a day and wanting nothing more than to quit this addiction, but not being able to, even though I tried so hard. Man, I felt deeply ashamed of myself back then for multiple reasons. Firstly, of course, I didn't want her to know, and I felt guilty about jerking off to some video of some other woman, some random woman on the internet. And it made me feel like I was kind of emotionally cheating on her, which of course I didn't want. I was in a committed relationship with her and am till this day, right? I also had struggles down there, wouldn't work as it was supposed to when me and my girl made love. And also there was this, and I think this was the most brutal thing for me. There was a sense of shame and guilt about getting more turned on by videos on the internet than by my actual girlfriend lying in front of me. Beautiful. You know, everyone else is too afraid to even admit their struggles with porn while they're in a relationship. So I decided to be that guy for you and guide you to actually quitting this. So in this video, I'll give you the 6, maybe unconventional, yet for me, absolutely life-changing steps that helped me quit porn for good and build a truly connected and intimate partnership with my girl, so that by the end of this video, you can do the exact same thing. Brother, that is a promise, because this is actually my 100th video on this channel, I think, that I've posted over the last 1.5 years, and this is the first time I even talk about this topic, because frankly, I didn't want to talk about it, but secondly, everything that I know about this topic, from learning from my own experience in reading books on this and all the knowledge that I've gained, but also from mentoring over 100 guys on relationships, and a lot of them also, of course, struggled with porn. Everything is packed into this video. I won't make a second video on this. This is it. Man, you know how much this is hurting you. You know how much this is hurting your woman. You know how much this is hurting your children or future children. Do yourself a favor. Spend some time with me here. Listen up. Focus. While we maybe watch the fog finally clear out to expose this beautiful landscape. Yeah, man, let's dive into this. No, brother, I won't waste your time here. Let's jump right into step number 1 to honestly go to the root of this. Because to dissolve this, we need to first figure out where it actually comes from. I think it all started for all of us, right? Everyone that I've talked to, including myself, it all started for us out of curiosity. We were horny, we were curious, some friend told us about it, right? And then we typed in the words on Google, maybe on like an incognito tab, right? On a laptop or something. And then we dove into it. And then it very quickly became an overwhelming addiction. We didn't know how to stop anymore. How does that happen? And how can we overcome that? It happens, of course, for individual reasons, right? But the thing about porn specifically is it makes us feel safe. It makes us feel in a weird way at home, right? And it makes us escape from everything else that is going on in our life. And for me, to be honest, when I was younger, I don't know about you, right? But when I was younger, I didn't really have a space where I felt safe. I was constantly bullied in school by like 6 different guys who were all bigger and stronger than me. My friends, they never really stood up for me, which is understandable. They didn't want to get bullied as well, right? But even when we were in private, like outside of school, at the lake or something, I would still be called the skinny loser, right? People would still pick on me, all that stuff. When I was at home, there were constant fights, constant shouting between my family members. And man, back then I was like 13. I was basically still a child. And I had no idea how to deal with this pain. So what did I do? Well, I escaped into the one space where I felt safe, the one space where I could kind of distract myself from my reality to be able to deal with it. And that was the internet and porn. And this might sound weird, but this mix that I had back then of YouTube and porn and Clash of Clans, I don't know where I would be without that today. Because back then, to be honest with you, it was a very healthy thing for me to do. Because who knows what other things I would have done without those things to cope with all this pain? Who knows? Now, here's the tricky part, and I know you will be able to relate to this. I continued escaping with those things, with porn, from my reality, long after all this pain was gone. In a way, I had built an automatic response to stress and pain and struggle, which was to watch porn or indulge myself in social media. And the best way that I can explain this is by looking at the work of Richard Schwartz, who basically discovered and built a whole therapy system that is used by millions of people and actually very effective on men as well, which for most therapy that can't be said, let's be honest. It's called IFS, Internal Family Systems, and he wrote a book on this, right, where he kind of explained how he found this and how it works and all of that. The book is called No Bad Parts. And he talks about all these parts that we have inside of us, right? Like the inner critic, we all know that part, right? We even have this in our language, by the way. Like this is not some weird thing that's like, oh, schizophrenic or whatever. We have this in our language. Oh, one part of me wants to go to the gym, but another part of me just wants to stay home and watch a TV show or something, right? We have this in our language, parts. Here's the thing. His book, No Bad Parts, made me understand that a part of me had learned to protect me from pain and from struggle by making me escape to porn and social media, by making me distract myself. And by the way, I hope you're taking notes, because if you're not, then you're wasting both of our time here, man. Because this protection mechanism that, like we said, was once probably actually healthy for me. I know this sounds crazy, but again, what else would I have done, right? God knows what else I would have done to try to escape from this, right? If I didn't have porn, which is still fairly harmless compared to other crutches that people use, right? So this protection mechanism didn't go away when I got out of school and didn't get bullied anymore, when I was mature enough to deal with my everyday struggles and pain coming my way, essentially, right? It didn't stop. That part of me was still trying to protect me from pain, from struggle. But it wasn't healthy for me anymore. I had to face this pain and this struggle now, and I had the strength and the maturity to face this pain and this struggle now, and I knew that. But I couldn't stop. I would still impulsively watch porn and jerk off. And it became what people call an addiction. So now that you know more about my story and can probably relate to a lot of parts of that, let's dive into step number 2 and define what an addiction actually is. Because we have this wrong as a society completely. Because you might have heard, yeah, addiction is a protection mechanism, an escape mechanism, like we just said, right? But yes, that's all true, but it goes a lot deeper. And start to think of an addiction as an entity within you. I know this sounds weird, but just trust me here. This is not some woo-woo shit, right? Just trust me. Think of it as an entity within yourself. For me, that entity, like I just explained, was trying to actually serve me and help me and protect me. That was very healthy for me, right? Once when I was 13. But over time, that entity wasn't needed anymore. It had served its purpose. But here's the thing. An entity is always trying to survive. That entity came into my life to fill a void, in a way, or to put a lid on that void, rather. Not to fill it, that's impossible, but to put a lid on that void, for me to not have to see that. But the older I got, and the more I realized this wasn't healthy for me anymore, the more this entity actually made that void bigger. The more I indulged in it. Because I realized this is not what I want to be doing. This is not who I want to be. And by the way, we'll talk about the word void in a second anyway, because that's where the solution lies, but not in the way you think. So pay attention here. Back to the point. The entity, the addiction, is trying with all its power, with all its might, to survive. And if you understand how it is doing that, how it is actually trying to survive, if you understand that mechanism, then you can take away all the power from this entity, from this addiction, very quickly and kill it very quickly, just like I did, just like all my clients did. So listen up here, because this was a whole revelation for me. Let me ask you this. Would you feel any urge to watch porn if you felt joyful and at peace 24/7? Of course not. And no, you don't have to become a monk and meditate 22 hours a day. That's not what I did, and that's no, none of that stuff, right? But understand this. You watch porn, you indulge in this, when you are in what people call a lower state of consciousness. This is where the key lies. We can look at the widely established map of consciousness by researcher and author and honestly just badass human David Hawkins, and look at this scale that he basically built over decades of research on consciousness. And we can look at the two lowest states on that map of consciousness, the two lowest states that we can be in as humans. And those are shame and guilt. And something should click right about now when you think back to my story, when you think back to what I said at the very start of this video on how I felt when I watched porn. And if you think about how you feel when you watch porn, you feel ashamed and you feel guilty. And this is why porn has such a strong grip on so many men and why it's so difficult to beat it. Because porn promises to us, in a way, an escape from shame and from guilt. But the moment we do it, the moment we even just think about it, we are in those exact states of consciousness right away again. We're not escaping from them, we're actually supercharging them. And of course, there's already a lot of shame and guilt when we're single, right? But when we are in a committed relationship and then we watch porn and jerk off to it, maybe even without our partner knowing, right? As for most of us, there's a whole different level of shame and guilt there. It's like 100 times stronger. And that's exactly what this entity wants. That's exactly what keeps the porn addiction, this entity inside of you, alive. It feeds on those lower states of consciousness, like a vampire feeds on some innocent victim. That's exactly what fuels it. Because when we are in those lower states of consciousness, as you should realize now, that's where we indulge in porn and in any other destructive behavior. And this entity is also trying to convince us that it is much stronger than us, right? How many times have you heard people say like, "Oh no, I can't stop myself from doing it," or "It's just like overwhelming, I don't even think about it," whatever. Maybe you've even said those things yourself. But how can this be stronger than you? And this is where step number 3 comes in. Let's make this actionable for you now. Because imagine for a second that you just watched porn and you just jerked off to it and you just finished, and now how do you feel? You feel ashamed of yourself, you feel guilty, you feel low energy, you feel maybe disgusted of yourself, and so on, right? Are you choosing to feel this way? Is this a conscious decision? Of course not. It's an unconscious reaction, right? It's not a decision. It's a reaction. But guess what? Oh, the sun's coming out. This is nice. Guess what? You don't have a parasite in your brain telling you what to do and how to feel. You're like, "Oh yeah, right, I don't have a parasite in my brain." Don't just agree with me here, man. Really, really understand this. There's nothing controlling you. Yes, the addiction, this entity, is influencing you, but it can never control you. It can never control your behavior. And now you might say, "Oh yeah, but man, when I feel these urges, I just become unconscious. I just like do it automatically. It's just like an automatic thing for me. I just type in the words and then whatever, right? All that stuff happens." Yeah, sure. 100%. I mean, you're still typing in those words, right? It's still your fingers typing on a keyboard. But in those moments, it is extremely difficult to catch yourself. And that's not the moment where we want to act. We're when I say we make this actionable, we'll do this in a much easier way, because there is a moment where it's 1,000 times easier to control your thoughts and control your reaction, and instead of unconsciously reacting to this, consciously responding to this. And not just is it much easier to actually be conscious in this moment that I'm talking about, but also when you are conscious in that moment, it is 1,000 times more powerful and more potent than in any other moment. The moment that I'm talking about is the moment right after you've watched porn and finished. Because in that moment you have post-nut clarity. And yes, it feels horrible, but you can use that to your advantage because you do have that clarity. And so what you can do in that very moment is you can respond. You can choose to consciously respond to what you've just done. Because man, it happened. You can't change it anymore. Sure, your ego wants to change it, right? That's why you have all these reactions, all these emotional reactions of like feeling guilty, feeling ashamed. That's all, like feeling guilty, feeling ashamed. That's all trying to make something different, right? Trying to change the past, but that's not possible. It happened. You can stay with it, or you can let it go. I'm guessing you've had those moments where you've watched porn and you finish and you feel horrible about yourself. You feel guilty, you feel ashamed, you feel just disgusted with yourself. You're like, fuck man, I did it again. I didn't want to do this again. And that continues, that thought, that feeling continues popping into your head throughout the day. And what happens for the rest of the day? You do it again, maybe for a second time, maybe for a third time, maybe for a fourth time. Because you're stuck in that very energy. And you're trying to escape that energy by watching porn, right? Now the flies come back. We have these flies in every video. Here's the thing. You've also had those moments where you didn't do it for a couple days. And it felt kind of easy. The reason why that happens, the reason why there's such a difference in what happens after you watch porn, is in that precise moment after you've watched it. Do you consciously choose your reaction? Do you consciously choose to let go of this? To forgive yourself for this? Or, and I'll tell you more about how you can exactly do that, right? We'll make this more and more actionable throughout these steps here. Or do you react to it? How the addiction wants you to react to it. Do you get it now? The addiction is trying to make you feel ashamed. The addiction is trying to make you feel guilty. It's trying to make you feel disgusted with yourself. These flies, man. There we go. Because those very states of consciousness are keeping the energy of addiction alive. That's what it wants. It wants you to feel guilty. It wants you to feel ashamed of yourself. And the moment you choose to not do that, the moment you consciously choose your response versus unconsciously reacting, that's the moment where everything changes. Responding versus reacting. That's the key here. Oh, and by the way, if you're interested in not just beating your porn addiction once and for all, but more importantly, transforming your entire relationship with my personal guidance, then you can click the link in the description, because over there I made a video explaining how I've helped over 100 men basically transform their relationship completely, and how I can help you do the exact same. And if you're interested in discussing this with me personally, then you can click the orange button on that page and basically send in an application. And if I like your application, these flies, man, if I like your application, we can hop on a free alignment call and simply discuss your goals and see whether I can help you so that you can make a decision whether this is for you. Check it out. Anyway, I told you earlier that we would discuss this word void in more depth. And this is exactly what we'll do now in step number 4 to make this even more actionable for you. Because there is a very similar word in the English language. And this word is avoid, right? We avoid something. Here's the thing. We avoid these feelings, right? We avoid this shame, this guilt about watching porn. We try to avoid that. We try to get away from that feeling. We try to push that down. Here's the thing, man. There's a reason why these words are so similar. Because when we avoid those feelings, we add to the void where that addiction lives. Avoid, add to the void. Just etch that into your brain. To add to the void, and that's exactly in this void is exactly where this addiction lives. So by avoiding these feelings, you just give more strength to this very energy, to this very entity of addiction. And this is the next key part to how you can actually beat this energy of addiction once and for all. Imagine for a second that you have a teenage son and you accidentally catch him watching porn. Let's not make this weird, right? But that happens. How does he feel? He feels ashamed of himself. He feels caught. He feels judged, maybe, right? So what advice do you give him? What do you tell him? Do you punish this young man who you love so dearly? Do you tell him that he's a piece of shit and that he should never do this? That this is unacceptable behavior? Is that what you tell him? Surely not, right? Instead, you go and you tell him, hey buddy, it's okay. We all make mistakes sometimes. Life goes on. You got this. So why the fuck do you talk to yourself in such a negative way? Why the fuck do you punish yourself so much for watching porn? A woman just walked by here. There's a little walking path here. When I explained all this, and when I said, like, why the fuck do you talk to yourself so negatively? I just kept talking, right? I'm so comfortable now filming these videos and talking even about these deep topics that I don't even care if some random person walks by. And she heard everything. And the moment I said, why the fuck do you talk to yourself in this negative way? She turned around and smiled at me, and I looked at her. People know this shit, man. People know they should be kinder to themselves, but they are not. Anyway, look, man, almost all of us, certainly everyone watching this video, we have a certain void within us. And whether consciously or unconsciously, we are hoping for someone, maybe our father, to come along and fill this void for us. But here's the truth, man. That can't happen. It's our void. It's your void, not your father's. It's an internal thing, and nothing external can fill that. Maybe you already knew that. But what's the consequence of this? Well, simple. What we want is that fatherly love and guidance and compassion from another person to fill this void. But that can't happen. That doesn't work. So, we need to give that very fatherly compassion, guidance, support, love to ourselves, as we can all do, because we're men. We have this ability, all of us. We need to use it for ourselves, for our own well-being, so that we can be there for ourselves and be there for the people around us. What we can do, for example, is we can tell ourselves after we watch porn, we can tell ourselves, hey man, it's okay. We all make mistakes. Life goes on. Go crush the rest of the day. We can tell ourselves that. We can forgive ourselves. We can even say this out loud. We could walk over to the nearest mirror and look ourselves in the eyes and tell ourselves there, man, it's okay, out loud. Or we could do something that I've learned from one of my recent mentors named Ryan, who actually has a son, who is a father. Because what happens, what he does when his son does something, maybe he hurts himself, he feels some pain or whatever, right? What Ryan does is he takes his big fatherly hand and puts it on his son's chest and just rubs his chest for a bit and says to him, hey, buddy, it's okay. You'll be fine. Feel it. Feel the pain, but it's okay. It will go away. You'll be fine. We can do that very thing to ourselves. And this sounds weird, right? Because you'll look like a psychopath when you do this, but no one has to know. No one has to see you. We can give, with a gesture like this, that very fatherly love to ourselves. And of course, some guys will think this is cringe. Some guys will think, oh no, whatever, this is not masculine. Man, you haven't understood anything about masculinity. You're still a child if you have these thoughts. Get out of your own way. I feel a lot of compassion, a lot of love for you, but get out of your own way, man. Just to round this off, one thing that I forgot to mention is the reason we want to do these things. We want to tell ourselves it's okay. We want to maybe rub our chest and be like, hey, man, you got this. Encourage ourselves. The reason why we want to do this, yes, we will look like a psychopath. But what this will do for us is it will instantly lift us to higher states of consciousness, like acceptance, like love, like peace. And that will instantly take the energy, take the steam out of the addiction. It will instantly take power away from the addiction and give power to you. Try this out just once after you've watched porn. Just try this out once. Maybe even try this right now if you feel bad right now. Try just like literally, this sounds so, I realize this, right? This sounds so weird because we're not taught this stuff. No man is ever taught this kind of stuff. Try doing this right now, rubbing your chest and telling yourself it's okay. It feels weird first time you do it, but it instantly feels relieving. Instantly gives you peace, gives you love, gives you acceptance of yourself. There's no shame anymore. There's no guilt anymore. And that kills the addiction very quickly. So now that you know how to deal with this yourself, and by the way, you'll see rapid progress with this, but now that you know how to deal with this yourself, what to do by yourself, we also need to talk about your woman. Because whether you know it or whether she knows it, it doesn't matter. She plays a crucial role in this. And I'll explain to you why. And I'll explain how you can overcome this. Listen up. I'll tell you the story to really make this sink in for you of one of my clients who will just name Jay for this. So Jay was in a long-term relationship and he was addicted to porn for years, even before that relationship. And what happened was every time he did it, or even when he didn't do it, his girl would continually tell him how bad watching porn is and how horrible it makes her feel about herself when he watches porn. And this became so strenuous for Jay that he eventually went and told her that he's going to quit. But he didn't. He couldn't. The addiction still had too much of a grip on him. And for the next 6 months, he would continually tell her that he hasn't watched porn while he was watching porn all the time. Simply to not have her judge him. Simply to not have her... simply not have to face her judgment, essentially, right? But here's the thing. Of course, we can all see why Jay did this, right? We can all see why you don't want to tell your woman that you watch porn. We can all understand this. But there's two things here at play. Firstly, his woman's judgment and simply her, even though it was like maybe in a loving way, like, hey man, this is bad, you should stop doing this. That was of course feeding into his guilt and his shame when he then did it again. But secondly, him not telling her and kind of having to hide it, avoid it, right? Again, that word, avoiding it. That of course led to much more shame and much more guilt, which just kept him deeper and deeper in this. Of course, it's very understandable that Jay's girlfriend felt, well, yeah, insecure about herself. Did you see this butterfly just now? That was beautiful, man. Anyway, very understandable that she feels insecure because of this, right? But it's just fed into this vicious cycle that so many men are stuck in. And here's the thing, man. The unfortunate, but also fortunate truth is that you won't escape porn addiction without the help of your woman. If you are in a committed relationship, you have to do this together. And I say this is the unfortunate truth because it's scary, but I also say this, it is the fortunate truth because if she feels insecure because of this. Or rather, especially because she feels insecure about this. She wants to help you beat this. And once she understands, oh shit, I have a part in this, I continue feeding into his shame cycle. Once she understands that, she can go and do the inner work necessary on her part to not feel insecure about something that he doesn't even want to do, right? Once your girl is able to see, hey, he doesn't want to do this, he doesn't do this because he's not loyal to me, or because we don't have good enough sex, or because I'm not sexy enough, or whatever it might be, the moment she understands that, the moment she understands that this is not something that you want to do, but something you do out of impulse, out of addiction, again, right? To fill a void that's not able, that you can't fill with this. The moment she understands that, she can actually help you massively. And please understand this: she doesn't care as much about porn and about you watching porn as you think she does. You care so much. You feel so guilty and so ashamed. She feels a bit insecure. There's a massive difference. And she wants to help you. She wants to help you beat this. You simply have to talk about this with her. And that's the hardest step. That was difficult for me. That was difficult for Jay. It was difficult for everyone. But that's the point, man. It is difficult. We can't do anything about that. Because, man, otherwise, you stay stuck in this cycle of guilt and shame and doubting your worth as a man, doubting your loyalty to your woman, doubting your relationship altogether, maybe even doubting the entire concept of relationships, right? That's your side. For her, yes, she feels insecure about this. Yes, it makes her feel bad about herself. Maybe she doubts whether she's sexy enough. All these things, right? But first and foremost, the reason she's with you is because the thing that she cares most about is your integrity and your strength. That's why she's with you. And so really, this is a massive opportunity for you to not only suck the life energy out of your addiction, but to secondly, deepen your relationship with your woman and build true, authentic, genuine intimacy with her. A crucial part in this is that you ask for her understanding so that you can take the pressure and the shame that you potentially feel from her out of this completely. I'd advise you to show her this video, to help her understand what it feels like to have this kind of addiction, and to help her understand that you are by far not the only man struggling with this, that this is a very common thing, and that this is a thing that you don't do to hurt her, or because she's not sexy enough, or because you don't love her enough. If there is zero understanding from her side about this, that's okay. That is not your fault. But I'll be very honest with you. If that's the case, for most men, that will never be the case. Most women will definitely understand this. Most women are good women. Don't believe in any of this bullshit that the red pill talks to you, that tells you, these manosphere podcasts where they invite some random women who can't even name 3 countries. Like, don't buy into this shit, man. Most women are good women. Look at attachment science. 50% of people have a secure attachment style. 50% have a secure attachment style. People don't realize that because, of course, these people are in relationships, right? They're not on the dating markets. But most people want to help. Most people want to be good. Basically no one wants to see their partner suffer. The only reason why someone would make their partner suffer is because they suffer much more deep down within themselves. And they want to protect themselves. So if that happens to you, right? Very unlikely, but if that happens to you with your woman, where she has zero understanding for this, please understand that it's not your fault. And also please understand that if that happens, that she needs to do the work on herself. This has nothing to do with you. This has only to do with her and her void and her wounds that she needs to heal. Because if you watching porn, even though you don't want to watch it, if you doing that makes her feel like she's not sexy enough, or that you don't love her enough, then that has nothing to do with you and everything to do with her. And that's okay. Your teammates help her through this. Understand her side of the story. You want to stop this for yourself, for your woman, for your children, for your future children, for everyone around you. And a good woman will understand that that takes time, that it takes practice, that relapses are normal. One important thing to note here is that you should never, ever make it seem like you're blaming her for this. Because yes, she's playing a part in this, but it is still your void that you need to fill here. And she can't do that for you. Yes, she plays a part in this. Yes, she might contribute to your shame, but never blame her for this. Never make it seem like she is the problem. You are also not the problem, right? But never make it seem like she's the problem. And yes, this is difficult. This will make you massively uncomfortable. I won't hide that from you. This is the truth. It will be daunting, or it is daunting already. But you know just as well as I did before I had that conversation, just as well as all my clients knew before they had their conversation with their women, that once you have this conversation with her, a massive weight will fall off your shoulders. Once you watch this video with her, maybe a massive weight will fall off your shoulders, and that will already give you a lot more freedom from this addiction. And this is the part that I can't do for you, man. You have to do this yourself. I can't do this for you. I can give you all the knowledge and everything, but you have to do this yourself. You have to be strong and tackle this. What I can do, however, is I can tell you how I go about having these daunting conversations with my girl. Because it is a daunting thing, right? And we don't want to do this. And it's such a massive, overwhelming task. What I do with, I don't know how many hundreds of these conversations that I've had with my girl over these last 7 years, right? What I do now is I break it down into the most simple, most easy step that I can take. And for me, that usually is going up to her in a random moment throughout the day and simply telling her, hey, I want to have a conversation about something. When are you free? And by the way, make it seem like you're not breaking up with her, right? Like don't make it seem like you're breaking up with her. Just maybe go up to her and tell her like, hey, I want to have a conversation with you, but I know you're busy right now. When are you free later on? Maybe she says, I'm free right now. Then you have the conversation right there. That likely doesn't happen. Most likely she says, yeah, later today, whatever, because she's busy, right? But tell her as well, like, hey, I'm not breaking up with you or anything. I just want to have a conversation. What that will do for you is it's a very easy thing to go up to your woman and simply tell her, hey, I want to have a conversation, right? Very, very easy thing to do. You just open your mouth and say a couple of words. You don't even mention porn in that. You mention nothing. But that automatically will guide you, because of your integrity, to then actually talk about this topic with her whenever she's free. Do that as soon as you can. Now, last step number 6. And usually in my videos, I always keep the most valuable and most biggest revelations for the last insight, because I want to keep it for guys like you who put in all this time and all this effort, because I think that that is a very valuable and virtuous pursuit. But this might not be the biggest revelation for you, but it will make everything else easier for you, and it will tie everything together and will make it so that both for you and for your woman, you can tackle this in a much easier way together. And this step that essentially helps you and your woman diminish this shame cycle that you're in, and therefore take all the life force out of this addiction, is to set the right goal. Because as men, we need a goal. We need something to strive towards. We need a path in front of us. We need to see that we're on that right path. But most men set the goal of never watching porn again. And they also tell their woman that that's their goal. And then when it inevitably happens that they watch it again, they feel ashamed of themselves. The shame becomes even stronger. And it might even happen where they don't want to tell their woman because they kind of made a promise to her to never watch it again, like my client Jay, who I mentioned earlier, did. And then they never tell their woman, and for months they keep it in, and that shame and that guilt just grows and grows and grows, and the addiction grows stronger and stronger and stronger. So this is not the right goal, but like I said, we need a goal. So let's set the right goal. The goal that I've set for myself, and the goal that has helped countless of my clients to overcome porn addiction as well, is to do it as little as possible until the end of your life. Let me say that again. Write that down. Do it as little as possible until the end of your life. There's multiple, these flies, man, so distracting. There's multiple reasons why this is so powerful. Firstly, it kind of takes into account that this takes time. and that it might happen again. So if it does, both you and your woman can be kind to you, can be loving to you, and you can both work through the shame that might be still lingering there, right? Because you watched it again and you said you wouldn't watch it, but you set the goal to do it as little as possible until the end of your life. So if you do it, there's not much shame, but it still gives you a goal to strive towards. And that's the second thing. Firstly, like I said, you can be kind to you, right? You can be kind, your woman can be kind, you can diminish that shame and therefore take the life force out of this addiction. But secondly, it will make you think, it will make you consider much deeper whether you should watch porn or whether you even want to watch porn in certain moments. Because when we set that goal of doing it as little as possible until the end of our lives, we have this certain number in our head of like the amount of times that we still have left, essentially, right? For me, that was always 100 times. I don't know why. For other people, it might be 50 or 200. I don't know, maybe 5. I don't know. For me, it was always 100. So every time I would do it, I would be like, do I really want to use up one of those 100 times that I can watch porn until the end of my life? Do I really want to use that up right now? And most of the times I didn't want to, right? And the funny thing is that when I still did it and when I maybe didn't think about this, right? Sometimes you become unconscious and you, like, not unconscious as in you pass out, but you're unconscious, right? You're not consciously choosing this. You're not responding. You're reacting again to these urges, right? Which happens sometimes. Hey, that's okay. In those moments, you just watch porn. That's okay. But the thing is, every time you do watch porn, that number still stays the same. It's not like when I watched porn 3 times, I only had 97 times left. The number in my head was still 100, and that's the same for every one of my clients that I've taught this as well. The number stays the same. So you're not like, oh, fuck, I shouldn't do this. Fuck, I only have like 10 times left now. Whatever. There's no pressure. It just puts a certain limit onto it. And that gives you the ability to actually have that discernment and be like, do I really want to do this right now or not? And that makes you a lot more aware even before you indulge in it. And hey, sometimes you will actually decide, hey man, it is this important to me right now, and I will consciously use one of those 100 tickets that I have to watch porn and masturbate to it right now. But you will do that from a very different perspective. And I can tell you from my own experience that the moment that happens the first time, where you consciously choose it, you're not lying to yourself, you're not like, oh no, I'm just consciously choosing this, when realistically you're impulsively watching porn right now. But the moment where you're like, you're really considering it, right? And you're like, you know what? I think I want to give myself that pleasure now. The moment that happens is the moment where you, please remember when this happens, please remember what I'm about to say. This is the exact moment where you know that you have beaten this addiction, where you know that you have killed this addiction, where you know that that addiction has zero power over you anymore. Because here's the thing, man, and I know people will judge me for this, and I know people will be like, oh, well, that's crazy, whatever. I have still sometimes very, I don't know what the word, I'm German, by the way, sometimes my English isn't perfect. Anyway, let's cut to the chase, Benny. I have still sometimes watched porn over the last couple of years, maybe 5 or 6 times over the last couple of years. But it looked a lot different than what it looked like when I was still so addicted to porn. It wasn't this indulging and shameful and impulsive thing anymore. It was actually a very loving and very enjoyable process. And I kind of consciously chose to give myself that pleasure in some moments because that's what I actually authentically wanted to do. And the porn that I watched is also much, much different than what I watched back then, right? And here's the thing, man. Like I said, some people will judge me for this, especially men will judge me for this, right? But those are the exact men, please realize this, so you don't become one of them. Those are the exact men who are either, number one, still stuck in the grips of shame and guilt and porn addiction, but would never admit that because they are so ashamed of themselves. Or they are secondly the men who are even more ashamed of all of this, who don't even want to see this and who therefore suppress all of these feelings and bury them deep inside themselves without realizing that what you bury deep inside yourself has to come out eventually. And these are the men who bury those things so deeply within themselves that they eventually become perverted. And they let out this energy in ways that are much worse and much more harmful to themselves and maybe even to other people than jerking off to some random video on the internet. There's no judgment from my side towards these men. Zero. Only compassion and love. And if you're someone who is interested in working with me personally to transform both yourself and your relationship within less than 16 weeks, then you can click the link in the description and check out the explainer video that I've made for you over there. And if this is calling out to you, then there's also this big yellow button, orange button on that page. You can simply click that and send in an application to work with me. You know me, this is not some bullshit $100 course. This is deep, meaningful mentorship. So if that's calling out to you, head over to that page, send in an application, no strings attached. If I like your application, we'll simply get on a call with each other that's completely free, just to see whether we're aligned to work together and so that you can make a decision of whether this is for you. If that's interesting to you, click that link right now, send in an application, and I'll talk to you very soon. Have a great day, man.